A good day for everyone, and I'm very glad to be here with you. My name is Ghait Sankari. I'm founder of AI Hut in Dubai. It's a startup related to AI, and especially in healthcare. And I have 12 years experience in AI with a lot of initiative in Europe, in USA, in India, and all around the world. Today, because this event it's related to the students, so I want to give some kind of advices how AI is used the natural phenomena to build this concept, which is the neural network concept, and then how we are going to implement this in our personal life. I hope this session it will be very initiative for everyone, very motivated, give motivation for everyone, and I hope it will be nice for everyone. Now, the first question comes to my mind. It's what is the most important theory that appeared, the greatest theory appeared in the history? You can find a lot of answers, but for me, it's the mathematics. Now, told me mathematics is not theory. In fact, it's a theory. You cannot see any mathematics on planet, on plant life, on animal life. Only us as a human, we find a way to abstract the concepts and use the mathematics to be unified language. And then because it works, we are so decided that, okay, this is a fact and this is how the world is built. So it's it's a very important thing, but let's say how it will affect in our field, which is AI. Let's start from the human brain. The human brain is a set of neurons connected to each other. We just like this forest shown here in this image. Okay, and according to that, we are able to understand that there is a signal which is the input of these neurons, and it's moved from one neuron to another, and according to that, we are able to make some kind of awareness or to understand pictures, to understand voices, whatever. The very critical thing about the brain is starting from the day that we born, we are unable, there is no new neurons created in our body. Only there is a new connections between the neurons. So I will keep this information for later because I'm going to use it. And let's say how we try to implement this brain in the AI field to create the new artificial neural networks. Now we create entity, which is the neurons. It's entity kind of nodes, kind of mathematical function, and we name it neurons. In fact, if we go back to the biological neuron, what it did in the mathematical language, we don't know. But whatever it was doing, at the end, it's only we can use it as a weight, as one value that shows the importance of this node. And this is what we are going to do with the weights for the artificial neural networks. Now, the signal for any neurons in the brain, it will become the input for the artificial neuron. And again, we have to check the output. Now, is it a brain we are creating with set of neurons as a brain? No, we decide that we don't have the capacity until now to create a full brain. There is some project maybe, but still we don't have it. So we name it neural network. That means we are getting special task of the brain task for this neural networks to do it. Now, to understand this, we are able why we decide that? Because we find that the brain, there is some parts of the brain is responsible for this sense or for another sense. So all the images coming from the eyes, it's processed on one part of the brain and something similar. So according to that, we have create something just to represent the brain. But in fact, it's different from the learning method because the brain, it's not learned under supervised and unsupervised learning. Maybe the best scenario for that learning the brain, something just like reinforcement learning, but again, it's not 100% correct. And also the brain it's training on sequence. There is no vectorization for the brain. Also, abstraction method. In the brain, there is very great abstraction method that the whole senses is focusing on one thing. For example, just get your kid and he'll tell you, what is this? For example, if he is looking for a cat and he is able to ignore anything else and he is focusing on the cat. Now, if we want to create a classification model about the cat, we can find the whole picture is considered. So the abstraction method in the brain, until now, we don't know how to do it, and we have to do it manually. We don't have artificial neural network to do that. Other also the feature selection, and it's the same because the abstraction method in the brain is very, very nice. So we don't need feature selection and feature engineering, but this is still needed on the neural network. And also how the brain is processing the feeling, the emotion, and generate this emotion also we don't know. Now, what is the entity also? We know that the neural networks for us, the whole neural networks, artificial neural networks, is the entity. Even if you go to object-oriented programming and you want to implement neural network, you will consider all of it as entity because you are unable to consider the neuron itself as entity. But in the brain, each node is entity, and in fact, we find that there is some neurons, it's able to be interactive in more than one task. And this is the great about the brain. Now, we used to understand the brain just like this. It's a set of parts. Each part is responsible for one task. But in fact, this is not the real. In fact, we found that the real image of the neural networks, of the brain, not the neural network, it's like this. Really, there is some part it's important to, for example, to process the images that are coming from the eye or the voices, because this is the senses, and because the neurons or the neurons is connected from the eye, for example, to that place. But to make decisions, in fact, it's create kind of paths that set of neurons connected to each other. All of them, they play their part to make the decision. And this path it can be changed. It can be changed according to the environment, to the challenges that we are facing, and we are unable to check where it is. That means it's not in special part. We are processing the image, but to make decision about this processing, the whole brain is involved with the special paths. That means a set of sequence of neurons. Now this will lead us to something that we find it also in the artificial neural networks, when we run the explainability of the model. So for some models and for some methods of explainability, for example, if you are looking to the heat map, we found that there is some part of the features in the image, for example, some pixels is playing most rule to decide which class for the image classification, for example. And according to that, how we found this? Because we make a relevance propagation from the end to the first to generate the heat map. And according to that, we understand that these neurons play the main roles. That means it's activated for this class. Now, the explainable AI give us very nice idea that we find for very deep neural networks, for example, just like ResNet or even right now there is deeper and more huge models. Okay, we found that only 5 to 10% of the neurons are activated and the other is not playing any role. This is the first finding. The second finding, for sure, the explainability is play main role to make better feature selection, to make better data generation method, and at the end, this is lead us for something totally new, which is a sparse plane training method. Now, sparse plane training method, it's considering the following, just what we have in our plane. As we said previously, in our plane, we have a set of neurons connected to each other that will help us to make the decision. That means not the full brain. That means we don't need fully connected. We don't need to be fully connected. Now the same, they are trying to do it since, according to the explainable AI, we have only 10% of the neurons are activated. So let's try to do the following, to run a kind of mask or filter on the input. And according to that, we will make some weights on the fully connected layers or on any layer as 0. So we will ignore some nodes and we will keep small amount of nodes and try to reach to the, let's say, desired result. Now also this will lead for another change on the output, just to go for k-winner instead of ReLU, and ReLU there is a threshold and something else. Here we are going to k-winner method, and this is also non-linear method, so it will help and it will do the same. Now, according to the paper comes from one company for this, they found that it's really work and it will reduce the time and the cost of training the neural networks if we use sparse layer than use standard dense layer, and it will be reduced just like 50 times. So according to that, we have clear idea right now. It's still a research, clear idea that what we are able to do when we are implementing somehow a brain method. Now again, it's not a brain, it's not biological brain. We are getting the idea, but how we are implemented, we are using mathematics. This is why the mathematics is very important. Now, this presentation I will try to share with everyone. There is some steps how they make this process and how they compare the sparse networks, that because they try multiple models of sparse, multiple filters, I mean, with the dense network, and they found that even the results, they are very close to each other. That means we are able to use this method if we did the homework in the correct way. Now, according to that, again, the humans back to the nature, back to the creator to find what is the best way to do the things and try to clone it. This will lead us for a very important concept that we need. If humanity, the whole humanity, trying to look to our brain, now it's our turn, personally, as student, as expert, whatever, as a human, to look to our brain and to know what you have to do. Now, this is the kind of message I wanted to all students to just to think about it. I'm not going to tell you advices. I'm part of you at the end, but to think about it. We have to know ourselves. Everybody, everywhere in the world, they are trying to learn from the nature, and we are the nature. So we have to know ourselves. And the first part to know ourselves is to look how our habit is created, and again, we are able to change. What's mean of the habits on the brain? That means we have a very trained set of neurons that with the sequence, the signal is processed and back again tell us that this is your habit and this is why you are happy. For example, if you smoke a cigarette or you drink a coffee. Now, if we need to change, yes, we need to retrain. And this is the great finding of the biological brain, that we are able to retrain these pathways. And this retraining on the early ages, it will be very fast, and it will be on the top when we are in 20. And then when we become older and older, it will be less and less, because the brain itself, they are losing some cells, some neurons, and the brain trying to replace it to keep the same habits. That's why even somehow it's intuition, it's not fact. That's why it's hard for old people to change their habits, to change their home, but it's very easy for the young people. So right now we are on the age to change our habits and to go for the healthy and, let's say, correct habits to follow. And when we are talking about habit, we don't have to forget about the ethics. And unfortunately, the professor for the first speech, she wasn't able to continue, but she was telling us very important thing about the ethics. And there is a lot of ethics in our field we are able to speak about, but the most important, there is one sentence I want to tell you. Unethical action is the thing that you are ashamed to tell everybody about it. So this will give you a kind of parameter for the ethics, either in business, in life, with friends, with everybody. So that means very important to think about AI ethics. But if you have life ethics, you are able to implement it into AI ethics. So when we are changing our bad habits, we have to keep thinking about the ethics. And now what we are going to do with the business, I think this is the very important shape that I want to tell you about. Now we have something we like to do, and we have something we are great, we are able to do it. And we have something we are paid for doing it. And there's something that the world is needing. Now with this shape, our target is the red center point, if we are able to get all of this together in one job. But this is not easy task. So what we like to do and we are great on it, this is our passion. But if we are unable to get paid for it, we are unable to use it as a work, as a job for our life. So we have to look for what is the profession we are going to do. Now, what is our mission in the world? It's to try to find what we like and really if the world is needed or not. So all of this together, with the look to the ethics, we are able to understand what we have to try to do and what is the full-time work that we are going to do, and what is something that we have to do it for ourselves, for our future. And this has put us on the very important topic that we name it personalized vision statement. So personalized vision statement is this red center that you have to create vision statement for your future at the end, and you have to try to follow it. Whatever was the challenges, you know that will not break you because you have a vision statement and you are trying to achieve. Now, but to be to be real, we have also to understand our abilities. And in fact, according to Roy Edler, there is 4 types of jobs, starting from the labor level to the talent level. There is the producer. He is the person, he is very good on repeating works. He knows all the problem related to any works. And at the end, he is able to produce whatever is planned previously in a very accurate and correct way. Now, this is producer. He is intellect person. He is able to push, and nobody is able to do anything without this producer. And there is the improver. Now here there's kind of talent it will back. It's not only labor part, there is kind of talent it will be here, and he is able to be more. And then we have the builder, which is the designer, and there is the thinker. He is coming with the new research, he is doing something. Now this shape, we have to understand where are we right now and where we want to be. For sure, I'm not going to tell you that all of us, we have to be thinkers, but we have to understand, my message is to understand our abilities. And when we understand our abilities, we are able to be the best producer, maybe, for example, in the world, or the best thinker in the world. And then when we are building our personal vision statement, we are going to know, because we know where are we are able to find the correct job for us and to have clear plan for our life. This is my message and this is my speech. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you. The reference is also there.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Gate. That was a very informative session. We've already got some comments saying good point and awesome, you rock. And yeah, there was one question. I mean, if you guys have any questions, all the people in the audience, just put it up in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask. Meanwhile, there is one question from Gautam. How do you define human cognizance in terms of artificial neural networks?
Now, if he means that means kind of awareness, this is what I'm telling you. Until now, we don't know why the human he has, for example, he has a sad feeling when he loses somebody, for example. So this is something we cannot, until now, all the neural networks, it's focusing on decision making according to data, or just representing the senses. That means the computer vision or the processing the videos, processing the audios. So until now, we don't know how to do that. That's why still we are in neural networks phase, not we in the brain phase. But let's see, maybe on mathematical way in the future, we are able to find some explanation, some representation for this cognitive actions or cognitive science that we have. And according to that, we are able to implement it. This is in the future. I don't think right now we are able to speak about it.
Okay, so there's just one more question from Niranjan. I think it has been answered, but still the question is it possible for an AI to develop habits by observing its surroundings?
Habits?
Yeah, is it possible for an AI to develop habits by observing its surroundings?
No, I don't think so. I will back to most important. Let's say I will make this question in another way. Previously, we have this question from on LinkedIn that, for example, are you able to trust a machine learning model to decide if this patient has to be died or not? How we are deciding this? Because we have a lot of patients, they need emergency cases, and the emergency rooms is less. So are we able to use AI to decide which patient is able to do that? Here is the critical part. Even if we found a way to make the AI model to do that, now let's back to the ethics. Is it ethical? I'm able to judge this model. I'm unable to judge it. Since there is no responsibility about the model, that according to that, we are unable to use it as a habit. Okay? The responsibility, even our habits, our daily action, we as a human, we are responsible for it. And everybody is, let's say, able to come back and give us feedback about it. For the model, the feedback, it's not very important. So at least when I want kind of habit generated or planning or life and death decision, I need somebody who has the same concern that I have. Until now, we are not there.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mr. Gates, for that. I think that's about all the questions we have. Thanks a lot for the session. It was very informative, and I guess a lot of people would have learned a lot. So, and also, could you just quickly tell them, like, if they want to reach out to you, or, like, ask any questions later on time, where could they reach out to you? Like, is there anything else that, like, how could they reach out to
Okay,
you?
I'm available on LinkedIn because I'm very active on LinkedIn, in fact, and it's the, let's say, this platform is I'm using to connect to everybody around the world. And also my personal email, gmail.com, ghais.sankari@aihut.com, also ai-hut.com. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot for the session. It was an amazing one. Thank you.